Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the nitrogen fixation and their mechanism, how they are fixed by microorganism or in physical way. Okay. So first we have to understand what is nitrogen fixation. Nitrogen fixation is a process which can be able to convert the atmospheric nitrogen into simpler compounds of nitrogen which can be utilized by the plants for their reproduction and their growth. So nitrogen fixation can be done in either two ways, naturally or unnaturally. Naturally through microbes and unnaturally by the use of fertilizer. Okay. First, we have to understand why nitrogen fixation is important and why do we need it. So, nitrogen is an essential component which is present in DNA, RNA, and proteins, which is known as the building blocks of life. About 78% of nitrogen is present around us, but it can't be directly utilized by the plants for their growth and metabolism. So, the reduction of nitrogen is commonly known as the nitrogen fixation, which can be done through chemically or biological process. Even though large amount of nitrogen is present in the atmosphere, we can't able to utilize them as it is. The mechanism of nitrogen fixation, though chemical and biological processes are carried out in different ways, the chemical reaction for the fixation of nitrogen is similar. The chemical nature of the nitrogen gas is consist of triple bond which must be broken first. So this is the first step of nitrogen fixation. For this process, three atoms of hydrogen that to be added to each of the nitrogen atom. We all know large amount of energy is required to fix nitrogen. In biological process, the living organism, that is microorganism, will derive the energy through oxidation, burning of carbohydrates to reduce the molecular nitrogen into the ammonia. In chemical process, burning of fossil fuels to obtain the electrons, hydrogen atoms, and energy needed to reduce the molecular nitrogen. There are two types of nitrogen fixation which is classified as non-biological nitrogen fixation and another one is biological nitrogen fixation. The biological nitrogen fixation is further divided into four types: non-symbiotic nitrogen fixation, symbiotic nitrogen fixation, associative symbiotic nitrogen fixation and endophytic nitrogen fixation. Non-biological nitrogen fixation. Microorganisms do not perform the nitrogen fixation process. During lightning, the atmospheric nitrogen and oxygen will be converted into nitrogen oxides. So these are the steps involved in the non-biological nitrogen fixation. The atmospheric nitrogen and oxygen is converted into nitric oxide during lightning. Through oxidation, it is converted into nitrogen peroxide and then as a nitric acid followed by calcium nitrate and then into a ammonium nitrate and the final step is ammonium nitrite. And next, biological nitrogen fixation. In biological nitrogen fixation, microorganisms will get involved. The enzyme nitrogenase will be active only in the anaerobic condition. The nitrogenous enzyme will able to convert the nitrogen into ammonia. The organism which can able to fix nitrogen are called as diastereops. As we all know, nitrogen fixation requires large amount of energy, so that the 2 moles of ammonia are produced from 1 mole of nitrogen gas using 16 moles of ATP. Okay, the enzyme nitrogenase, which is an important enzyme in the nitrogen fixation process, and the enzyme nitrogenase consists of two component metalloprotein. The component one is iron protein, that is dinitrogenase, and component 2 is molybdenum iron protein, that is nitrogen reductase. And next, non-symbiotic nitrogen fixation. In this process, the free living microorganism will take place. They include aerobic and anaerobic microorganism and blue-green algae. These are the examples of aerobic heterotrophs: Azotobacter species, Achromobacter species, and Beijeringia species. And these are the examples of aerobic autotrophs: Nostoc species, Anabena species, and blue-green algae. And these are the examples of anaerobic heterotrophs: Klebsiella species and Desulfovibrio species. And next, anaerobic autotroph: Chlorobium species, Chromaticum species. And next, symbiotic nitrogen fixation. The term symbiosis was coined by D. Barry. It can be seen in the plants. Let me explain it in a simple way. The plant provides the nick for nitrogen fixing bacteria. In return, they will fix nitrogen for the plants. So these bacteria can be seen in the tissues of the plants. It is further categorized into three types: nodal formation in leguminous plants, nodal formation in non-leguminous plants, and non-nodulation. I have listed few steps for this process. At first, bacteria will invade the root hairs of the host plants and then stimulate the formation of root nodules. Within the nodules, the bacteria can able to convert free nitrogen to ammonia. So these are the examples for the symbiotic nitrogen fixation: rhizobium and legume association, and the association with Frankia and Casuarina association, and Azolla and Anubena association. And next, associative symbiotic nitrogen fixation. In this type of nitrogen fixation, the association of bacteria within the roots of cereals or grasses can able to fix the atmospheric nitrogen. It is carried out by the free living microorganism. These organisms can be present in both terrestrial and aquatic. The examples of organisms are rhizobium, which is associated with the plants in the pea family; Azospirillum species, which are associated with cereal grasses. Endophytic nitrogen fixation. This type of nitrogen fixation can be seen in the bacteria which are able to colonize the tissues of plants, which can able to provide the variety of benefits for the plants. The examples are Gluconesidobacter diastereotrophicus, which is present in the sugarcane, and Burkholderia species. So these organisms will provide the nutrients such as phosphorus, iron, nitrogen from the environment, and they induce the production of phytohormones such as auxins, gibberellic acid, and ethylene. Finally, chemical nitrogen fixation. As I said before, nitrogen can also be fixed unnaturally. In this process, the nitrogen will be reduced into ammonia by chemical process. This process is also known as Haber's process. This can be done by raising the atmospheric pressure up to 200 and high temperature up to 200 degrees Celsius. I have given a chemical reaction for this process. Thank you. Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the